Welcome back, everybody. May the 4th be with you. Today is May 4th. Now, if it is your birthday today, I want to wish you a happy birthday. We are going to be reading 3 quick stories inside one of Star Wars' books. And this is Lego's little version of coming up with some stories that happen in training of Stormtroopers. So this book is Brick Adventures, Stormtroopers Class Clowns. So while they're in Stormtrooper training, we're going to be reading 3 stories. This is an AR book. It is a 4.7 for Renaissance Learning Center. So if you are able to take tests in your school for books and you are on the reading level of a 4.7, you can take this test. However, after I've read it, you need to read it at least 3 times and have somebody ask you questions. Now, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I have well over 100 books on videos, and I have started some crafting videos as well. If you like this video after it's being read, please click like. Now, let's begin with the 3 stories. Introduction. Welcome to First Order School. Hi, I'm Kylo Ren. I'm good at using the Force and even better at having cool hair. I want to tell you about the training school we call First Order School. That's where you train to join me in the First Order. Here are 3 stories from the recent year I think about before you apply. Now, this is taking place after Luke has defeated the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, which was actually Palpatine. He has defeated him, has made Darth Vader go to the good side. Now Kylo Ren is now Leia and Han's child, but he has turned to the dark side. Yes, he has the Force. Yes, he was training to be a Jedi, but the dark side took over him. Story 1. First day at the First Order. Today, a brand new class of students had begun their training at the First Order School. These stormtroopers had one goal in mind: to become great soldiers of the First Order. They needed to prove they were smart enough and evil enough to fight for Kylo Ren. When they started school, the troopers were given classroom supplies. Each student received notebooks, folders, and blasters. They also got space pencils to take notes with. Those pencils were very important because, unlike pens, they work when there is no gravity. A trooper never knows when they might find themselves floating upside down. It's always good to be prepared. Once the students had their supplies, they gathered in homeroom. A tiny image of someone lit up at the front of class. It was a 3D image called a hologram of Supreme Leader Snoke. Snoke was the leader of the First Order. He was holding a remote control that let him adjust the hologram. So now, after Darth Sidious, which was the Emperor who controlled all the evil, now we have Snoke that controls all the evil. And yes, he knows how to work the Force. Yes, yes, I know. It's an honor to see me, Snoke said. Sit down. Welcome to the First Order School. Your training here will be fun and dangerous. And as you begin your classes, you might have questions. One of the troopers raised her hand and asked, Sir, Supreme Leader Snoke, sir, I have a question. You are much smaller than I thought you'd be. That's not a question, Snoke yelled. Snoke looked at the remote control he was holding. Now, what's going on here? Oh, darn, I set this thing on tiny mode. With the press of a button, Snoke's hologram grew until his head reached the top of the ceiling. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. As you enter your lessons, you might have questions. Do not ask any questions. Follow my orders, and as of today, I order you to enjoy yourselves. The troopers jumped up and cheered again. Then, with a smile, Snoke said, Just kidding. I order you to work hard, study your helmets off, and become part of the First Order, which will wipe out the Resistance once and for all. But before that, you have gym class. Please join your teacher, Kylo Ren, in the gymnasium to begin your training. So he was telling the stormtroopers, you got any questions? If you got questions, don't ask. You just do what I tell you to do. Snoke clicked another button and the giant hologram disappeared. Standing behind him was a very tall First Order trooper dressed in silver armor with a cape draped over her shoulder. It was Captain Plasma. She was one of the toughest captains of the First Order. Let's go, kiddos, said Plasma. Kylo Ren doesn't like to be kept waiting. As you may have heard, patience is not what he is known for. As the troops entered the gym, they saw that it was huge, filled with giant red First Order banners and blinking computers. In the middle of the floor, Kylo was waiting, surrounded by a bunch of metal balls. The metal balls were actually tiny droids. Kylo held up one in his hand to get everyone's attention. A tiny droid flew up and landed in his hand. Today, you are going to play a game called Droid Dodgeball, Kylo said. It's just like regular dodgeball, except the ball's flying around and trying to trap you with a laser. If you get zapped, you're out. Last one standing wins. The game starts now. All the droids flew into the air, firing lasers. Some troopers were hit right away, and an alarm sounded to tell them that they were out of the game. The troopers ran around, bumping into one another and getting hit by the lasers over and over again. Kylo thought it was very funny. Kylo stood in the center of the room, laughing. Then one trooper tried to use the notebook to block a laser. The laser bounced off his notepad to hit Kylo, burning his hair. Ouch! He screamed. All the droids stopped immediately. They knew they'd made a big mistake. Kylo didn't like anyone messing up his cool long hair. It was like, don't touch the hair. Kylo turned on his red lightsaber and kept after the droids. The troopers cheered as he flipped and flew through the gym and destroyed all the droids. As the last droid flew away, Kylo threw his lightsaber like a spear. The droid broke as Kylo's lightsaber smashed into the wall, but his lightsaber also destroyed the gravity control in the gym. Everyone floated into the air, stuck in zero gravity. Zero gravity means there's no gravity at all. So how you're able to walk on the ground and on the floors, you have gravity from inside the earth that's pulling you down to keep you there. Otherwise, if there was no gravity, you'd be floating in the air, and that's what's happened up here. As Kylo floated above the ground, he saw that he'd actually done what he'd actually done to the gym. The gym was covered with wrecked droids and metal pieces. Students, he said while upside down, use your space pens to take this important note. You must never tell Supreme Leader Snoke what happened here today. This is the third gym I've destroyed this week, so let's make this our little secret, okay? Yes, sir. The troops all cheered as they wrote in their notebooks. Kylo nodded. Great. And now for your next challenge. Rebuild the gym and clean up this mess. Actually, you should probably get used to cleaning up our messes. So you are learning something important. I guess all the stormtroopers are gonna learn how to clean up after their messes. There's gonna be a lot of them. Story 2, Captain Phasma, Wild Ride. Every First Order trooper dreams of being a pilot. There's nothing like flying through space in a TIE fighter battle against a team of rebels. But before new troops face off against expert pilots like Poe Dameron, they need to start small. It was a day like any other in the halls of the First Order. A new stormtrooper had just been told he wasn't ready to fly yet. No way, he said. He flapped his arms and pretended to zoom past his friends. I'm ready to fly right now. Look out, Galaxy, here I come. Another trooper joined in, running around the other troops. I'm right behind you, partner. The two new recruits jumped down the hallway until they tripped over each other and fell. They rolled until Captain Phasma stopped them. The fearless leader shook her head slowly. So you think you can fly? She asked. Piloting a TIE fighter isn't as simple as bouncing around a hallway with your friends. If you think you're ready, then let's begin the TIE Fighter's Drive training course. The troopers scrambled back to their feet and saluted Captain Phasma. We're ready to take the wheel. We will see, snapped the captain as she took and walked toward the space deck. The students followed her, cheering. The space deck was giant. The TIE fighters and the other battleships were parked on the floor and along the walls of each side. Trained First Order troopers salute the captain as she entered the runway. At the end of the runway, an opening showed the galaxy full of stars. Wow, said one of the students. I cannot believe we're about to fly an actual TIE fighter. No one is actually flying a TIE fighter yet, Captain Phasma said. You troopers did think that I was going to let you fly it alone. The very first time you set foot in a TIE fighter, did you? Kinda, another student said. Well, then you are kind of wrong, said the captain. Besides, it's trash day. There are garbage ships carrying trash outside, and you don't want to run into them. No, you will take a pretend flight, a simulation. We'll start with something easy, like an asteroid belt. Asteroids are space rockets that can hurt your ship, and you need to learn how to dodge them. It will feel like you are flying, but you'll be safe, tied to the space deck. The last thing we want is for any of these ships to get hurt. So now they're going to go into training into a simulation, which when they go into this big box like style machine, is like when you play in video games, except for you're in like a square little box type machine. and you're actually learning to fly a TIE fighter. So that's what a simulation means. One by one, students climbed to the TIE fighters that were tied to the wall. The inside of the spaceship was small. There was room for only 2 pilots. One pilot flew the ship while the other was in charge of the cannons. With the troopers aboard, Captain Plasma went to the space traffic control booth overlooking the deck to talk to the pilots. "Remember to buckle up, everyone. Safety first, even in a battle simulation." The recruits clicked themselves into place. "Ready for action!" "We are starting the TIE fighters now," said Captain Plasma. Each of the TIE fighters began to hum as the engines warmed up. The troopers all cheered. "Whee! Even if we're not flying today, this is so cool." How cool would it be to even be in a simulation of actually flying a fighter pilot jet, like the ones you see up over here? Wouldn't that be cool? In the air traffic control booth, Captain Plasma ordered a troop to prepare the asteroid battle simulation. A trooper nodded to the captain. "Simulation ready on command, ma'am." "Now," said Captain Plasma, and the trooper pressed the button. Suddenly, all of the TIE fighters blasted into space. Plasma ran to the control booth window and watched as the training pilots flew out of sight. "Who would like to tell me why my simulation just actually launched first order students into space without any flying experience?" she asked. The control deck went quiet until the trooper who pressed the button spoke. Here's the problem. I hit the launch button instead of the launch simulation button. Maybe it's not a good idea to have those 2 buttons right next to each other. And they're the same color, too. Very confusing. So let's look back at that one page, the page before. You have the simulation button, and you have the actual fighting, TIE fighters fighting. So you have the simulation and the regular. They're side by side, yet the same color. That's what he's talking about. Captain Plasma yelled, Remind me to make it less confusing for you when I get back." She ran out of the room and jumped inside another TIE fighter. She fired it up and flew after her new recruits who were already far ahead of her. "Wow, this feels so real," said one trooper in a pilot seat. Another trooper reported in over the headset, "Hey guys, it looks like we've reached the asteroid belt." So right now, all the troopers inside the TIE fighter think they're in a simulation, but in reality, they're actually out in space. They don't know it. A cluster of asteroids hovered outside of his front window shield as the trooper took the steering controls. He swerved down, barely missing the first rock chunk. He weaved the ship in and out of giant boulders. "Wow, if this was real, I'd be so scared right now," he said. Another voice interrupted their radios. "All recruits, stay where you are and do not, under any circumstances, shift into hyperdrive unless you want to never fly again." "Uh-oh, that's Captain Plasma," said one trooper, "and she does not sound happy." Suddenly, a net swooped over the ships and pulled them safely from the asteroid belt. The same net caught each and every TIE fighter that had a first-order student inside. As the pilots looked up, they saw the net attached to another TIE fighter, which expertly flew through space. Captain Plasma sat in the pilot seat. "Now, I need you to get Now, I need to get you all back before Kylo knows you're missing, Captain Plasma told the others. But when they were almost back to the space deck, another giant ship took off a huge took off. I'm sorry, let me read that again. But when they were almost back to the space deck, another giant ship took off. A huge spaceship, trash ship. The captain of the giant ship turned quickly to avoid them, but she couldn't get out of the way in time. All the TIE fighters plunged deep into a pile of trash aboard the garbage ship. Ew, now they're in the ship's trash. Boy, it sure does smell it here. Back on the space deck, Kylo Ren had just arrived to see all of the commotion was about. He waved to Captain Plasma as she exited her filthy TIE fighter. I never thought your flying stunk, Plasma, said Kylo as he coughed at the smell. But you are out to prove me wrong. So right now he's sitting there holding it. He's like, phew, you smell, man. Remember, you're all in the trash. Captain Plasma held her head high. I might not have the best luck when it comes to landing in garbage, she said, but I always live to fight another day. Story 3. The Best Worst Villain. While training to fight Wookiees and rebels might sound dangerous, it's nothing compared to lunchtime at the First Order School. The troopers are treated to 3 meals a day, prepared by the worst cooks in the galaxy. One day at lunch, 2 students stared at their awful food. On their trays, a dusty piece of bread floated in a sea of green glop. I don't know if I'd want to eat that either. What is this supposed to be? Asked one of the troopers. According to the menu, it's macaroni and cheese, said the other trooper. What? Green glop that's macaroni and cheese with bread? She couldn't believe the bad smell coming from such a small amount of food. Ugh! What are they're trying to do to us? Feed us this disgusting gunk? Good question, said the first trooper. It's like they give us this horrible stuff on purpose. Maybe this nasty food is supposed to make us meaner, angrier, and every bit as bitter as what's on our trays. Ew. The second trooper nodded in agreement. It's like they say, you are what you eat, and if we eat the most evil food, then we'll become the most evil troopers ever. It could even be part of our training. The first trooper lifted the spoon up to his mouth before stopping and letting the food drop back down. Blech. I can't eat it, he said. Since when is macaroni and cheese green? Have you ever seen macaroni and cheese green? I've never seen it either. And sure, our armor is stain resistant, but if I spill any of this food on me, I'll never get the smell out. Yeah, I know, said the second trooper. You know who probably loves this stuff? Kylo Ren. He's so evil, he probably thinks this slop tastes as sweet as candy. The other trooper shook his head. That's where you're wrong. General Hux probably eats way more gross food than Kylo Ren. He is way more evil than Kylo. He commands the First Order army, and he blew up an entire star system. Ooh, that's pretty evil, said the trooper as she pushed the food around her tray. but Kylo Ren destroyed the Jedi. That was also pretty evil. I suppose we'll never know who was more evil, Kylo Ren or General Hux, the first trooper admitted, unless we see them eat this food. The two troopers jumped up and ran across the cafeteria, searching for Kylo and Hux. They found both of the leaders sitting at the table together. Kylo had his mask off as he talked to Hux. Neither of them expected the troopers to interrupt their lunch, which was way better than that of the troopers ate. "Excuse me, villainous sirs," the first trooper said. "My friend and I have a question for you both. We were wondering which of you is the evilest of all." The leaders looked at each other and laughed. "That has to be the worst question I've ever heard," said General Hux. "Wouldn't you agree, Kylo?" "Definitely the worst question," said Kylo. "I'm the evilest of all. Everyone knows that." Suddenly, General Hux stopped laughing. "Oh, Kyler, don't be so silly. I'm the evilest villain of all. Sure, you are mysterious, moody. You even have a full force thing going, a whole force thing working for you. But at the end of the day, I'm the biggest bad guy around here." A crowd of troopers gathered around the leader's lunch table. This was the most interesting thing that ever happened in the First Order cafeteria. "It sounds like we need to have a contest to prove once and for all who is the evilest," suggested Kylo. "You're on," said Hux. "What should we do to prove who's better at being the worst?" The first trooper waved his arm in the air. I know! You can eat the cafeteria food today. Whoever finishes first has to be the most vile villain of ever." At this suggestion, Kylo and Hux both gagged and turned green as a macaroni and cheese. "I've got a better idea," Kylo announced. "We'll have 3 challenges, and the winner is the worst. First, I challenge you to a scare game, Hux. Whoever scares the most troopers wins." General Hux cracked a crooked smile. "I'll go first. Any trooper in this room who isn't scared right now will be forced to clean out the cafeteria kitchen and take out the trash for a week." A quivering gasp filled the room as every trooper's stomach collectively let out a gross gurgle. Ugh. Man, they can't handle that. "That settles that," said Hux. "I'm clearly the winner here." Not so fast." Kylo reached under the table, and in one swift move, he put his mask and turned on his lightsaber. The jagged edge of the red blade heated up the room and scared several troopers out of their actual uniform, helmets, pants, and all. Even General Hux flinched with fear. "Point Kylo Ren," the cloaked leader said in a distorted voice from underneath his mask. "The second challenge is up to you, Hux." The general smoothed back his red hair. "Let's have a good old-fashioned race. Then the first evildoer to cross the finish line wins. Troopers, form a finish line at the end of the lunchroom. We will break through you to win." "What does the race have to do with being evil?" asked Kylo Ren. "Line up at the starting point here and find out." General Hux bent into a racing position. "Unless you're too scared to race me." Kylo put his lightsaber away and leaped over the table, landing right next to Hux. I'm not afraid of a foot race. The troopers counted off altogether. On your mark, get set, go! Kylo Ren bolted into an early lead by using the Force to freeze General Hux for a moment. But the general was fast. Just as Kylo almost reached the finish line, Hux grabbed Ren's hood and tossed him backward. Kylo Ren landed on his bottom with a thud as Hux ran to victory, crashing through the troopers and knocking all of them down like bowling pins. So, right now, in the first race, we had Kylo Ren. Now, in this second race, we have General Hux won. So, they're tied. Now you gotta see the last race. Who do you think is gonna win? Do you think it's going to be General Hux? Or you think it's going to be Kylo Ren? Which one do you think? Let's read what happens in the last race. The troopers knew that using the Force to win was evil, but Hux, using Ren's own fancy outfit to win the race and humiliated him, added insult to injury. Looks like we're tied, said General Hux. There's only one challenge left. A duel. A lightsaber duel? Kylo laughed. You have got to be kidding. I'll take you down faster than you took me down in that race. No, a blaster duel, explained General Hux. We'll set up targets, and whoever blasts the most will win. Or you could just eat the food, suggested the first trooper. A blaster duel it is, both Hux and Kylo said at the same time. General Hux went first, ordering several troopers to hold their cafeteria trays above their heads as targets. Hux quickly blasted the center of each tray. The troopers all cheered, even the ones who now had green macaroni and cheese spilled all over them. Now it's going to smell for days. Your turn, Kylo, said General Hux as he motioned for the green slime troopers to raise several more targets. I thought this was supposed to be a challenge, said Kylo as he pulled off his mask. Hitting targets with your eyes open is one thing, but doing it with your eyes closed is something else. So now he's going to show off and use the Force to help him shoot all the target. Placing his helmet down, Kylo Ren shut his eyes and fired, with the Force guiding his aim. He struck the first 4 targets, but missed the 5th. His final blast bounced off the lunchroom walls until it hurled back into the kitchen and exploded. The room went silent. Then Hux laughed. What a rotten shot that was, Kylo. You missed the last target completely. Kylo Ren winked. Did I? He asked. Let's ask the troopers. Did I miss my target, or did I just annihilate the awful food you have to eat every day? The first order student swarmed in and lifted Kylo on their shoulders. 3 cheers for Kylo Ren, the destroyer of bad cafeteria food. Sorry, Hux, said Ren, as he turned on his lightsaber again. Looks like the troops pick me. Okay, everyone. We're ordering out for pizza. We're ordering out for lunch. Who wants pizza? I can slice it up for you, So he hit the when Kylo Ren went to hit his targets, he hit the first 4 targets, but he missed the 5th one, and actually it bounced off the walls and went into the kitchen and into the pot that destroyed all the macaroni and cheese, the green macaroni and cheese. So they're all happy, and he's like, they're gonna order out for lunch. They're gonna eat some pizza. He says that he can slice it. Guess what he's gonna slice it with? He's gonna slice it with his lightsaber. The end. So if you notice, they have some highlighted words here. If you look in the glossary, those words are in here and they tell you what the meaning is. This glossary is always by alphabetical order. So you see some A words, and B words, and C words, and D words, and it goes on and on. Okay. So if you didn't know what some of those words were, you go to the back of the book and it tells you what the meaning of those dark words are. So there are more books of Lego Brick Adventures. Not necessarily Star Wars. There are other ones that they do. If you like this book, you can go purchase it. Again, there are 3 stories in this one. There are more Star Wars books that I will be reading. This is for 1st through 3rd grade students. And again, Lego has come up with their version of what you would say Stormtrooper school. So I hope you liked this video. And if you have, you can click that like and also subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share it with others. I would greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.